Five things I wish every direct seller knew about Facebook. All right, my lovelies. Hello, hello. It is time for this week's podcast. I am your direct selling success coach, Penny Inches. If you're new to my world, I help women just like you to build a more successful and profitable direct selling or network marketing business using the right Facebook strategies. If you are not already following my YouTube channel, or subscribe for that if you're not already following or subscribed to my Spotify channel, you can do that as well, because then you're not, if you do those things, you're never going to miss an episode. Or you might also be listening / watching this inside of my free Facebook community. Say hello wherever you are tuning in from. All right, so today what I want to talk to you about is 5 things that I wish every direct seller and network marketer knew about Facebook, because these things make a difference to your sales, to attracting new people to you, to building those connections and relationships, to recruiting people, like all the things that you want to be doing in your direct selling or network marketing business that Facebook can help you to achieve. So let's start with number 1 today. So the number 1 thing I wish you knew, and look, for many of you, especially been hanging out in my world for a while, you potentially know these things, but let's dive into, why they are important and why they will make a difference to what you are doing on Facebook when it comes to growing your direct selling or network marketing business, right? So the first thing I want to share with you is that people buy from people, right? And I think this is one of, it's really the most important lesson of all, right? Because people buy from people, not logos, not company names, not product catalogs. Oh, look, although we are a little bit partial to catalogs, aren't we? But they're not going to really be looking at your catalog, whether that's a digital one or like a paper one. I know many different direct selling network marketing companies do still produce catalogs. But they're going to have had to connect with you in the first place to actually want to go and look at that, right? People do buy from people, right? And I really think this is where many women get stuck, right? Because they fill their Facebook feed with product photos, product specials, product promotions, product graphics, right? And then wonder why engagement is low, right? The thing is, the reality is that people are actually far more interested in you than they are in your products, right? And I mean that in a good way, right? They want to know, who are you? What do you care about? What does your life look like? What do you stand for? What makes you different? This is personal branding, right? And it's one of the most powerful things you can do on Facebook. For anyone that has been in my world for a while, you will have heard me talk about being the purple cow in a field of dairy cows. What does that mean? You need to stand out from the crowd, right? Because at the end of the day, there are hundreds or even thousands of people selling either the same products as you or something very similar, right? But there's only one you, right? You've got to stand out from the crowd. Your personality, your story, your experiences, your values, right? That's what helps people connect with you, and connection leads to trust, right? And often that trust is what then leads to the sales, or booking an event with you if that's what you're offering, or joining your team if that's what you're offering, right? Or you've got lots of different variations on what you want to do with your company and your business, and different companies offer different things as well, right? But you really do need to build those connections. You need your personal branding, right? And I remember years ago, back when I was in the direct selling industry, for those of you who are not familiar, I spent 16 years with a direct selling company, building a multi-million-dollar direct selling business. And look, when I started back in 2006, Facebook was not a thing, right? But within a few years, it launched, and we started to realize what an amazing tool that it could be. And so I've been using Facebook for a really, really long time. And, but when it first came out, I remember years ago, thinking I needed to just post more products because surely that's how you made sales, right? But I quickly realized that whenever I shared something about my family or a behind the scenes moment in my business, you can be subtle about your business, right? Or a story from my life, the engagement went through the roof, right? And what happened next is, and then people started asking me about the products, right? And, you start these conversations that, you create curiosity around what you do, who you help, how your products can help, right? People need to understand that, often before they take those next steps that you want, which is, making those future sellers, booking with you and joining your team, right? And I still to this day, and I think about, having worked that out so many years ago, right? And I still see today so many women literally just putting sales type posts out on their personal profile. And that is a mistake. People tune out, they don't pay attention. So you've spent time, posting this stuff and you don't get the visibility that you want, let alone the sales, right? And Facebook does not like you putting sales posts on your personal profile either, even when you're in professional mode, right? So it will actually reduce the reach of those posts, okay? Far better off doing, creating some curiosity, giving, letting people see a little bit about who you are, right? Be the purple cow in a field of dairy cows. Second thing that I'm going to share with you today, consistency beats perfection. Okay. And I have this conversation with so many women, so many of my Beehive members. I have this conversation with them, especially when they first come into the program. And then, when I meet with other women through my free roadmap calls, I have this, same conversation, right? And I really would love to see if women could see, maybe you're guilty of this, I don't know. If I could get women to stop waiting for perfect, right? I would. If I could find, magic wand. I mean, maybe this is my way of I get you to stop waiting to be perfect, right? Through you listening to my podcast, coming to for my free masterclasses, hanging out inside my free Facebook group, and then, making that next step of really going, yep, we're going for it by joining my Beehive program. I would love you to stop waiting to be perfect, okay? I see so many women overthinking their posts, overthinking their reels, overthinking their photos, overthinking their captions, right? And even overthinking like putting it out at all, right? You spend all this time like creating and then go, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not going to put it out. I'm not happy with it. It's not perfect, right? And meanwhile, the women getting results are actually simply showing up, right? Not perfectly, but they're doing it consistently, right? And consistency is really, really important because Facebook rewards consistency. Your audience notices consistency. Trust is built through consistency. If you show up consistently in your business, show up consistently online, that creates a level of trust for your followers, for your customers, for your potential customers, for your potential hosts, your potential team members, right? You honestly don't need to have perfect graphics. Okay, you don't need to have perfect videos. You don't need perfect lighting. I mean, look, lighting is good. You don't want to be darkened in the shadows, but it doesn't mean you necessarily have to have, great big studio lights and even ring lights and stuff. You know what? Find yourself a window, stand in front of it, facing it, and put your camera there. In all honesty, right now at this moment, my lighting is coming from my great big window in my office that is right there in front of me. For those of you who are watching, not just listening, you will see my hands going. It's literally on the other side of this screen and my camera. All right. That's what's providing the light. It can be something as simple as that for you, right? You just simply need to keep showing up, right? And I honestly feel that most people are far too busy actually worrying about themselves, right, to be judging you anyway, right? And I mean, that's a natural thing, I think, especially for women. We think everyone else is judging us, right? But in reality, they're probably sitting there going, oh my goodness, I can't believe how brave you are, showing up, sharing, and sharing your passion for what you have on offer, right? We are generally our harshest critics, right? Our harshest judges, right? Most people are, too worried, busy worrying about themselves, right, to be judging you. So you need to stop waiting for perfect, right? You need to start focusing on being consistent, right? I know, look, and will every post, every reel that you create be absolutely amazing, get you tons of views? No, it won't. There's going to be things that don't quite resonate, don't quite hit the mark. That is completely normal, right? But if you're showing up consistently, it will work and it will bring the results that you want. One of my Beehive program members, Jamie, she's with Synergens, and she has been committed to creating and posting being the key factor, a reel every single day for the last, it must be about 6 months now, maybe a little bit over 6 months, right? And she is really starting to reap the rewards from that. She's been attracting new people who are her ideal clients, ideal customers to her, and is getting the people coming to her, asking for her help, asking for her products, reaching out to her, and getting those extra sales and opportunities coming through because she has committed to being consistent, right? And I've got so many examples of that, but what I want you to take away from this is stop waiting to be perfect, stop waiting to have perfect posts, perfect videos, just start focusing on being consistent. Okay, it's for water for me. Now, third one I'm going to talk to you about today is your Facebook group, right? Your Facebook group is gold, right? And if you've been hanging out in my world for a while, you probably know I'm slightly obsessed with Facebook groups, right? But for a good reason. There really isn't another platform feature quite like it, okay? Doesn't matter whether we're talking TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, etc. There isn't Facebook groups anywhere else. There's nothing quite like Facebook groups, right? And I want you to think about what a Facebook group gives you, okay? It gives you a place to build community, relationships, trust, conversations, and belonging. People get a sense of belonging from hanging out inside your world, inside your Facebook group, right? And that's really powerful. I want, for any of you who've been around in direct selling network marketing long enough, or maybe you've just you've attended in the past any sort of in-home party, right? So in-home party event, that sort of thing, right? Think about your Facebook group as being the women who said yes to coming over to your house when you invited them to come, have a chat with you, learn more about you, learn more about your products, learn about how your products and opportunities can help them, right? That's what your Facebook group is, basically. It's replicating that scenario in the online space, okay? And that is really powerful, right? But you got to remember, people don't just join groups because they want information, right? They do join because they want connection. They want to feel that they're part of something. And when you create a group that generally helps people, it's really quite amazing because, people do get to know you then. If you're putting your personality into your group, you're not just sharing, company product posts, people get to know you, right? And they get to like you and they get to trust you, right? And that's when business starts becoming easier. Okay. Now, doesn't mean, you're not, as I said, you don't want to tune it into like the full-on sales pitch, right? Absolutely, you got to do some selling in your group, but you don't want to be having that full, post after post after post after post is all about, this product is at this price and this special offer and all that sort of stuff. You need to have other information in there that gives people a reason to be hanging out in your group. If you turn it into a constant, if it looks like a catalog, an online catalog, that's one of the quickest ways to lose people, to have them tune out, right? So your goal in the group is to create that value and encouragement and support and connection. And then your sales come as a result of the relationships, right? Because you share about who something is for and how it works and all those sorts of things, and you're building those connections, you're building those relationships, and people will come to you. They will think of you as the person, when they need to get, insert whatever it is you sell, you offer, your opportunities, right? And when you think about it, something I don't think I've talked about this one for a while. And again, if you're new to my world, when it comes to your Facebook group, if you've got 30 people in your group, think of it like, that's 30 people that came over to your house when you invited them to come and learn more about you and your business. If you've got 300 people inside of your Facebook group, you probably had to, hire the local community hall, because you're not going to fit 300 people in your home. Like I've got, well over 1,000 women in my free Facebook group. Well, you know what? They're not all going to be fitting at my place. If I wanted to have all of my lovely women, direct selling network marketing women that are in the group, in person, I'd be hiring a massive venue, wouldn't I? And that's all hanging out inside the group, right? And I know the women in there love what's going on inside of the group, because I share lots of information, tips and opportunities for free trainings and stuff as well in there. So I want you to think about your group that way, right? Think of it as how excited would you be if you've got 100 people in your group? How excited would you be if 100 people turned up at your house, right? I want you to think about it like that. All right. Number 4, visibility creates opportunities for you, right? And I do wish that every woman understood this, because you cannot build a successful business if nobody sees you, right? And you would think that would be a no-brainer, but and again, if you've been feeling hesitant about putting yourself out there, it is one of those things that is going to be holding you back from achieving this success that you want in your business, right? Now, before anyone panics, I am not suggesting that you need to become an influencer. I'm not saying that you need to spend all day online on social media. I'm simply saying that people need opportunities to discover you, right? And visibility creates those opportunities. Whether it's a post, a reel, a story, your Facebook lives, if you're doing them, hopefully you're doing them, every comment, every interaction, this is all helping you to become more visible, right? These all create opportunities for people to discover you, right? I sometimes women tell me when I'm talking with them, it might be in response into a comment in my Facebook group. I often hear people will, the women say to me, my engagement is low. Maybe you're someone I've actually had a conversation with, right? Where you've said to me, my engagement is low, right? But when we look at their activity, they're barely visible, right? They're posting once every few weeks, right? They're hiding, they're waiting, and then wondering why nothing is happening, right? Visibility creates opportunities. Opportunities create conversations, and conversations create customers, okay? But it's being visible, and it's being consistently visible, right? It's just that showing up consistently, it makes such a difference. It really creates that sense of trust for people, and it helps to keep you front of mind. Facebook stories are really great for keeping you front of mind. All right, 5th one today. Conversations creating customers, right? And I think this might be really probably the biggest mistake I see, where women focus all their attention on posting, like just putting out the post, right? But the real magic happens in the conversations, right? Because people rarely buy because they saw one post, okay? And realistically, not everybody sees everything you post, right? So you've got to be showing up consistently, like I've been saying, but then you've got to get into having conversations, right? People buy because, a relationship was built, right? They felt a connection to you through what you've been posting, and then asking questions and jumping into the comments and having conversations, right? The trust is built through building those relationships. The sales will happen because of those conversations, right? And that's why engagement matters. That's why responding to comments matters. Okay. It's why sending thoughtful messages matters. You can do messaging. Do not be doing cold DMs, but if you've connected with people, jumping into Messenger it is a great natural progression, right? And that's why building relationship matters, right? Because Facebook really isn't just a broadcasting platform. It was never intended just for you to go post something and disappear, right? We don't want to be doing that. It is it's about building relationships. It's about building community, right? That was the whole point when Facebook was invented back in whatever year. What was it? I don't know. 2000, I feel like it was 2007, 2008. I've completely forgotten. But it's, the whole idea was about creating community and connection no matter where you were in the world, right? And that is still the point to this day. And that's one of the things, with Facebook, that if you are, having those conversations, if you are, you will get the reach and the visibility that you are looking for, right? The women who are, really sort of getting the best results usually are the women who understand this, right? They understand it is about building connections, right? They're not just collecting followers. The number of groups, like there's so many different groups out there you can be in. The number of groups I've been in where I see them just say, follow, right? Just gathering followers who actually have no interest in what you're sharing is actually really pointless and actually can hurt you, right? You want people that want to hear from you, right? Who want to interact with you. Okay. You need to be building those relationships, because those relationships, they really do drive business growth, right? And I remember, I think for those of you who listen to all my podcasts and trainings, if you've been hanging out with me for quite some time, you've potentially heard me talk about Cindy, one of my Beehive program members, who is with Amare. And one of the things we really worked on when she first joined my program is getting her comfortable with starting conversations, right? And when we got her, we did a lot of training. There is a lot of training inside my Beehive program on building relationships, having those conversations. And when she watched that and she embraced it and she started, taking action on that, she's now ended up, she was the top, I think it's customer recruiter for Amare in their last recognition year, and has just earned herself recently her first company incentive trip to Hawaii, because she came and she worked out and she learned how what was the right way to do it. We're not sending, icky cold DMs, hey girl, copy and paste, all that sort of crap that, you so often see and so often hear about. And you know what? After all the years of building my own business, using Facebook and coaching women for years, there's a few things that, that I really have learned myself, right? And it is this. Facebook is still one of the most powerful tools available to direct sellers and network marketers, right? Now, it's not perfect. The algorithm isn't perfect. But, we've also got to remind ourselves this is a free service, a free platform for us to use, right? But it is a great and powerful tool, because this is where your customers, potential customers, future team members, future hosts are already there. Facebook is still the biggest social media platform in the world, right? The opportunities to reach more people are there, right? I guess the question is for you is, are you using Facebook strategically, right? Or are you simply using Facebook? Okay, because there is a difference. If you want to use Facebook to grow your direct selling or network marketing business, you do need to be using the right strategies that are going to get you visible, that build the know, like, and trust, and all of those things that, if you've been hanging out in my world, you would have heard me talk about, right? So What are these 5 things that I wish every direct seller and network marketer knew about when it comes to Facebook? People buy from people. Number 1. Number 2, consistency beats perfection. Number 3, your Facebook group is gold. Number 4, visibility creates opportunity. And number 5, conversations create customers, right? And if you focus on these 5 things consistently, you are going to put yourself in a much stronger position to grow your business, right? You don't necessarily need to have every strategy. You don't need to go chase after every new shiny object, right? You need the fundamentals, right? And these 5 things are fundamentals, right? Now, of course, if you'd like to keep learning, help learning how to put these into practice, send me a message on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. I do offer free roadmap calls. You can send me a message or drop it down below. Roadmap call if you would like me to reach out. All right, lovelies, that is it for this episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, keep building relationships. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're sharing me with your direct selling and network marketing friends. And remember that people buy from people. I will see you soon on Facebook. Thanks for watching, listening, depends where you are. Bye.